The Massachusetts Congressman Jim McGovern serves as the ranking member of the Rules Committee. He supported today's War Powers resolution. He joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Happy to be with you.
This is a particular pickle. The Congress will not discuss a War Powers resolution, but the administration hasn't asked for one in the first place. Donald Trump would rather this debate just not occur. He would rather be able to conduct a war, which he has caught himself a few times calling a war, but not calling it a war because that wouldn't be legal. How do you get yourself out of this?
Yeah, well, first of all, Donald Trump doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and the people around him don't as well. So as we are talking right now, 13 American service members have been killed, hundreds have been wounded. We have, the civilians have been killed, Iranian civilians, Lebanese civilians. I mean, this is a mess. And nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And quite frankly, we should not even be in this predicament to begin with. I mean, don't forget, the Straits of Hormuz are now closed. Yes. We're trying to get them open, but they were open before Donald Trump decided to use U.S. military and get involved in this thing. So we've created a mess. We've made things more difficult for the things that we care about. And quite frankly, enough is enough. Rather than saving face, they ought to end this right now, get back to the negotiating people with people who know how to negotiate, not a real estate developer or, a Nepo baby. We need to have real people who have the trust of the Iranians and the Lebanese and others in the region, and we ought to find a way to bring this to an end. This should never have happened.
The interesting thing is J.D. Vance is now apparently in charge of these negotiations, and whether you share any views with J.D. Vance or not, he seems to be the one person in the administration who didn't think this war was a good idea. And I don't know whether that's an ideological view, that he doesn't want America in wars, or he actually read the intel that said this was not going to turn out well. But for whatever, for better or for worse, a guy who didn't think we were supposed to be in this war is now in charge of the negotiations. Does that give you any hope?
Well, my observations of J.D. Vance is he always seems to cave. And privately he says one thing and publicly he does another. Look, if he stands by his convictions and if he understands that this was a mistake and that we need to come to some sort of understanding to get beyond this, then, that's a good thing. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Again, what I've been noticing in the last several hours is that people in the Trump administration just seem to want to rally around the president and not even concede that maybe they have mishandled this. This has been terribly mishandled. We should not be in this position right now. We are worse off today, and even trying to find a solution will be worse off than if we had done nothing.
Yeah, it's a strange situation in which Iran, for whatever one's beliefs are about Iran and the authoritarian regime there, they could end up stronger than they went into this whole thing. They're talking about a toll on ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump seems to be endorsing that idea. That would be actually illegal. It's against international maritime law to impose a toll, so it's illegal for Iran to suggest it. It's illegal for Donald Trump to suggest that it be a joint venture. But they're actually talking about this. Can you imagine that we could end up in a world where Iran's getting paid for ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz that were going through freely before this war started?
Right, and don't forget, prior to all of this U.S. involvement, there was no toll in the Straits of Hormuz. So, this is the compromise. This is what we're going to agree to. This is the deal we're making with Iran. We're going to pay them to be able to utilize the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, look at, gas prices are up, and they're going to continue to go up. And if you're going to be charging, to use the Straits of Hormuz, those gas prices are going to remain high. But we need smarter, cooler heads to prevail here. We need people who know about the region, who know about Iran, who know how to figure out a way to get beyond this. Because quite frankly, we're in a mess that is our own creation. And shame on Donald Trump, shame on Pete Hegseth. I mean, these people are, kind of are weapons grade stupid, if you will. That's the only way I can describe their behavior to get us into this mess that we're in right now.
Well, let's talk about this, about Hegseth. This is tricky because this is a guy who, again, would have had access to the intelligence community in the United States, confirmed by the DNI. Tulsi Gabbard says that there was no nuclear threat from Iran. They do not have a nuclear warhead. They do not have a ballistic missile capable of reaching the United States. And yet Donald Trump somehow put that all together, that they've got a missile that they could put a nuclear warhead on, and now the United States, because of him, is safe from a nuclear attack from Iran. There was no threat of a nuclear attack from Iran under any circumstances. Pete Hegseth knew that.
Right. I mean, Pete Hegseth knew that. Donald Trump knew that. Everybody in the administration knew that. I wish they would have had the guts to have actually said that to the president before he went down this road.
Right.
I mean, now things, are more, dangerous, not just for the United States, but for all of our allies in the region. I mean, and the fact that Iran seems to have the upper hand. I mean, even this compromise negotiation that they're talking about, Iran ends up better than they did before. So this is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. I mean, this president is totally out of touch. He has no idea what's going on. Quite frankly, I don't think he's up to the job. I wish the Republicans in the Congress would confront him on some of these issues, but they're all afraid of him. I mean, right now we're still in recess. Yeah,
confronting's too high a bar. Mike Johnson will not let a vote on war powers come to the floor. That wouldn't be a confrontation of Donald Trump. That would be an assertion of your rights under the Constitution as members of Congress.
Yeah, well, Mike Johnson believes that his role as Speaker is not to be the Speaker of the entire House or to do what's right by the American people. He believes it's just to make Donald Trump happy. And unfortunately, there are too many people in the Republican leadership who fall into that category, both in the House and the Senate. I mean, they're not. I mean, where is the Republican leadership? Where are the Republicans voicing some concern about what is happening right now? I mean, this is not good, no matter how you look at it. And quite frankly, the White House, even when you think that they're beginning to realize that they made a mistake, and then they double down on stupid stuff, and you realize that they've learned nothing. So, by the way, this is costing us over $1 billion a day, $1 billion a day. They're cutting money for education. They're cutting money, for food assistance. They got $1 billion a day, over $40 billion, to waste on this. And none of this is making us more secure. It's making us less secure. This has been a stupid move by this administration. And you know what? Rather than try to continue to double down on the stupidity, they need to back up, realize there's a mistake, and find other ways to move on.
Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for joining us today, Congressman Jim McGovern of Massachusetts. All right, still